How you doing, folks? I'm doing pretty well myself because I've been playing Final Fantasy 15 for the last couple weeks. I don't know if it's just the novelty, but I find this game pretty incredible. I hear older gamers talk about previous Final Fantasy entries and how they were blown away at times, and now I know what they're talking about. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, without spoilers, this game nails the sense of adventure, so it feels like an epic quest. The open world is designed so right. There's always something to keep you engaged when exploring it, whether it be the uneven and varied terrain, different walking speeds which are beautifully animated, intriguing and beautiful scenery, dialogue between party members, stray items, or an encounter. The combat is really fun as well. It took me a while for me to acclimate to it, partially because I was too enamored by all the flashy visuals and smooth animations, but also because this game has real-time action-heavy combat, so I was playing it like Kingdom Hearts or Devil May Cry, which is possible to do once you get the timing down, but I was much more successful and efficient when sticking close to the party members than thinking on my feet to work together to take advantage of those game mechanics. This game balances the action and RPG elements of combat well, providing options to change up and vary combo strings, while also not making it too action-heavy. So the combat has somewhat lenient timing for dodges and parries, as well as for invincibility frames. There are a lot of systems to potentially maintain that are thrown at you in the beginning of the game, like the magic crafting, customization of abilities and attributes of characters, the Ascension Grid, cooking, and equipment upgrades. Luckily, you don't necessarily need to maintain all those in order to be successful early game. Like, I just wanted to progress the story and get a feel for the combat when I started, so I ignored a lot of those, but luckily, when you do use them, they're straightforward and simple to use. The Ascension Grid requires the most maintenance of those RPG systems. To be honest, I never really looked through the whole Ascension Grid until I was well into the game. So when starting off, I just chose one of the first abilities that sounded fun or effective, like an aerial combo extension, and I was fine. But as you progress further, you'll probably look at more of it, and it's more necessary. So the Ascension Grid throws a lot in your face at once, but isn't necessary to be familiar with right away, and at least it isn't visually overwhelming, and it's intuitive to use. The story is great. The four guys have a great, believable dynamic. The dialogue is really natural and situation appropriate. The voice actors add a lot with their comfortable and understated tones. The actors' chemistry with each other is also really good. A couple characters with minor roles I wish had more to do. I got a sense of each character at least, but more time with some would have made them more memorable. You know, essentially bettering something that already works. The story is actually kind of short compared to previous entries in this series, so that addition wouldn't have been too much to ask for. There are a lot of epic moments though, while also being a simple, straightforward plot, as well as sweet and poignant. I'm a little embarrassed to say, but I was crying by the end. I think the voice acting, lifelike animation, art direction, and realistic graphics add a lot to the delivery of the story on top of already understandable and sympathetic characters. I've been seeing a consistent amount of people saying that the plot is incoherent and disjointed, as well as there being insufficient character motivation. I can't say I had that experience with the story, however, I may have been paying more attention to the story than the average player. The game throws a lot at you, so I could see how players could displace the story. With that being said, some minor characters have just enough exposition and screen time for me to get a sense of what they're about, but that might not have been explicit enough for some people. At least there's something there though. One of the most impressive things about this game for me is how wonderfully varied the gameplay is. I don't mean that the game throws a bunch of minigames at you with completely different mechanics, even though there are a number of optional minigames. What I'm talking about are the nuances that refresh the combat, exploration, and RPG mechanics, the main elements of gameplay. For example, without spoiling anything, certain areas or levels will emphasize certain styles of combat. Or you may be traversing a rocky and windy cave, then you interact with the environment a little differently and slide down some ice. There were a lot of little things like that which extend my excitement and interest in the game. Plus, how they mix it up just makes so much sense. I will say this, there are some areas in this game that are not as open as you anticipate, which is a little disappointing to find out, but there already are plenty of interesting open areas that you have access to, so I suppose that demonstrates how much I like the game, wanting even more of a thing that's already substantial. Before I end, I feel that I should mention the character designs briefly, because that's generally a selling point of RPGs. Final Fantasy XV's character designs of the 4 main characters are a little monochromatic for their own good. Like, Noctis could have used some gold to break up all the black, and kind of distinguish his appearance, but I think the outfits and the haircuts look pretty cool other than that. Anyway, I'm still thinking about this game, and I want to replay it already. The open world and side quests gives it nice replay value. I've already played a couple hours into a new game, but apparently new cutscenes are going to be patched in, so I may wait until those scenes are added before progressing through the story too much further. Maybe if I'm still interested, I'd like to talk about this game more and make a more long-form review and analysis of Final Fantasy XV, but I'd like to wait at least a year before doing that to see how it's remembered and what its more long-term impact is. And also, with some time, my personal hype will decompress, because it may be the novelty, but right now, I'm thinking that this game rivals the best Final Fantasy entries. Definitely check this game out if you like these types of action RPGs, or if the premise sounds interesting.